Good morning. Give me a second to share this. I have an ambitious day. This session was actually pretty long. This is session 16 I'm going to cover. And it was a pretty long session. I'm going to be doing this session and then getting off here and doing some space news. Give me a second to post it. Give me one more second. I'm just trying to share this feed. I have like one more. So everyone survived the moon energy, I see. I have some exciting news I'm going to do right when I get off of here. Alright, like I said, I'll be covering session 16. This was kind of a long session, so bear with me. I'm going to be covering the whole thing in one session. Alright, let's consider the free will distortion of the Law 1. The Guardians are quarantining this planet. This quarantine is within the laws of free will, and we're going to discuss why. The Guardians guard the free will of the people on this third density planet. Events occurred which required the activation of this quarantine. There were entities that were interfering with the free will of the people on this planet. Now, this is where things get a little confusing, though, because the entities of the Orion group, they have free will, too. And when I refer to the Orion group, I think that's the same group that a lot of people will refer to as reptiles, the reptilians, things like that. So just so you guys can follow with me. But they have free will, too, as do we. They can choose to use their free will to interfere and to torture people if they want to. This is balanced from dimension to dimension, though. The Crusaders are from the Orion group. The Crusaders attempt to interfere with free will, which is acceptable based on their dimension of understanding. However, the people of the third dimension are not able to recognize these distortions are being led towards manipulation. So in order to balance the dimensional vibration difference, a quarantine was set up. This is a very delicate situation, though. It has to be done in a balanced manner. It has to be done perfectly balanced, though, so as to not interfere with either party's free will. The Orion group is not stopped, but merely challenged. None of the group's free will can be infringed on. And we've discussed previously how there are windows that occur that allow the Orion group to get through once in a while. This has to do with free will and balancing. To give you an analogy of how this works, it would be comparable to a random number generator within certain limits. The source of this random number generator was created by the Guardians to balance their guarding. There's only one source to everything, of course. So this window phenomena is from the Guardians. It operates from the dimensions beyond space and time in what you may call the areas of intelligent infinity. We have our cycles and balancing, which are comparable to a clock striking the hour. In regard to these windows, the entities don't have the clock, so it seems random to find the windows. Nothing's ever random, though. It seems random here, but not in the other dimensions. This window balancing prevents the Guardians from reducing their positive polarity by totally eliminating the Orion contact through shielding. This balancing allows an equal amount of positive and negative influx. This is balanced by the people. So on our planet, there's less negative entities with this quarantine in place. Less negative information or stimuli is wanted, though, because the people already have a negative orientation here on this planet. This quarantine allows free will to stay balanced so people have an equal opportunity to choose service to others or service to self. If the Confederation landed on Earth, they would be taken as gods once again, breaking the laws of free will, and this would reduce their polarity from service of all. We know this has happened in the past. But the same thing would happen if the Orion group were to land here. If they landed and became known as gods, their service to self polarity would be affected. If they had a mass landing here, it would increase their polarity in the service to self direction. So it's better for them to work behind the scenes, getting recruits from this planet, so they don't infringe upon the law of one by actually landing here. A mass landing would be a gamble for them. If the planet were conquered, it would become part of the empire. Then free will would have to be reestablished. This group has a desire to progress towards the one creator, though, just like everything else. This is what stops them from breaking the law of confusion. We discussed how Star Wars was an allegory for this and what's actually happening. This is a good way to really think of the empire in the context in which it's being used. There's a harvest of entities oriented towards service to self, just like there's a harvest to those oriented towards service to others, but it's actually one harvest we'll be experiencing. Those who are able to enter the fourth density based on their vibration can then choose the manner of how they want to furtherly seek the Creator. As we enter the fourth density, there will be a split. Some people will go on to the fourth density and will go on to planets or places where there's service to others. The other people will go into a different place where the service to self people go. They'll repeat another cycle in the third dimension. So I keep telling everyone, we actually get sorted based on our polarity. It's really easy. Negative polarity, service to self. Positive polarity, service to others. Let's discuss the origin of the Ten Commandments. I put a post up about this too. Negative entities delivered these commandments to humanity. The information appears to be positive, but actually retains negative characteristics. That's really how the Bible works too. In a lot of these religions, I'm always telling people that archons actually wrote the Bible. This was done by the Orion Group. The purpose of the Orion Group is always conquest and enslavement. They do this by finding and establishing an elite and causing others to serve the elite. They do this by making laws. Moses had a positive polarity. This accounts for why the material has lots of positive characteristics. Moses did not remain a credible influence among the people of his time, though. Even though many religions are based on it, he was completely discredited in his lifetime. Moses began his search channeling the Confederation and the Law of One, then lost his honor and faith in freeing his tribe. Let's talk about how the Orion Group was able to contact him, since he was actually a positive channel. This was an intensive battleground between positive and negative forces of the Confederation and the negative-oriented Orion Crusaders. Moses began open to receive the Law of One, but the information started to become negative because of his people's motives. This left Moses open for information and philosophy of a service to self nature. It would be unlike an entity fully aware of the knowledge of the Law of One to ever say, quote, "thou shalt not," end quote. Ra discusses how their social memory complex or soul group became aware of the Law of One. Ra's learning is centered around the present moment. They don't have a history. They use an allegory of a circle of being. Think of the Alpha and the Omega as infinite intelligence. The circle never ceases. It is in the present. They have traveled through densities at all points in the circle. Each point in the circle correlates with the characteristics of a different cycle. First is the cycle of awareness. Remember, these densities and cycles also correlate with the chakra systems. I'm always trying to tell everyone that each chakra correlates with a density as well. Second is the cycle of growth. Third is the cycle of self-awareness. Fourth is the cycle of love or understanding. Fifth is the cycle of light or wisdom. Sixth is the cycle of light and love and light or unity. Seventh is the gateway cycle. Eighth is the octave, which moves into a mystery we don't even understand. The Confederation has stated that there's actually no past, present, or future, that there's only a present. There's only a past, present, and future in the third density. So for a higher density entity, there isn't the same time or space continuum. There's only the cycle that is occurring at the present. Ra is seeking the understanding of a seventh dimensional soul group. They're working on becoming one with all, having no memory, no identity, no past or future, but existing in the all. They will have awareness of all that is. It's their understanding that it's not their awareness, but an awareness of the Creator. In the Creator, there is all that is, making knowledge more available. There are many inhabited planets in our galaxy. There are many dimensions of consciousness and many densities of awareness. Approximately 1/5 of each planet's entities contain awareness of one or more densities. Some planets are only habitable for certain densities. Our planet is at this time able to host entities for the first, second, third, fourth densities. We have approximately 67 million total planets in this galaxy as stars. We're aware of those regardless of what density we're in. Let's discuss percentages of what density this planet resides in. 17% are in the first density. 20% are in the second density. 27% are in the third density. 16% are in the fourth density. And 6% are in the fifth density. This would leave 14% in the seventh density and up. Of those first 5 densities, all the planets progressed from the third density by knowledge and application of the law of one. It's the only way for a planet to get out of the situation that they're in with the population, and it's to become aware and start practicing the law of one. Ra would not give statistics as to the numbers in regard to negative or positive polarities. They did say that the negatively or service to self entities are much fewer than we would expect. They use an analogy of this. In a positive-oriented society that service to others, it would be simple to move a large boulder by getting everyone to help move it. In a society oriented towards service to self, it would be much more difficult to get everyone to work for the good of all to move the boulder. Therefore, it's much easier to get things done to create the service to others principle and to grow in positively oriented communities than in negatively oriented communities. Let's discuss how the Confederation of Planets was formed. It was out of a desire to serve. In the dimensions of love and understanding, it's a goal to serve. That is how the Confederation found themselves here long ago. They were seeking to be service to others. They came here and continually worked towards the common good of service. The Confederation created a memory data bank of sorts. This was to make a structure anyone could access for information. This means people working on themselves can access more understanding. We have a much larger number of planets in this galaxy. There are approximately 500 planets in the Confederation. This is a relatively small number of Confederation planets around, though. There are many confederations. The Confederation works with the planets in 7 of our galaxies. They're responsible for the calling of the densities in those galaxies. To define galaxy, we will use the term star system. They call a galaxy a local vibratory complex. Our sun is the center of the galaxy. Our current scientific institutions use the term galaxy to refer to the lenticular star systems that contain millions and millions of stars. The difference between these definitions is in the higher dimensions they're aware of life in an infinite capacity. Let's talk about the progression of life in other galaxies and how it's similar to the progression of life in our galaxy. We will all grow and seek infinity. The free will of those galactic systems is affecting every galaxy. It's causing variations of a minor nature from one galaxy to another. So our life here is actually influencing and affecting all life everywhere. The law of one is universal and creating a progression towards the 8th density in all galaxies. There are infinite levels of infinite understandings, but the progression is only one, the law of one. It is not necessary for an individual to understand the law of one to go from the 3rd to the 4th density, but it is absolutely necessary that an entity consciously realizes. It does not have to understand in order to be harvestable, but because understanding is not of this density. So you don't have to be consciously aware of the law of one to go from the 3rd to the 4th density, but there's a point in the densities that it's necessary for you to progress towards the law of one to get any farther. The 5th density harvest is only attainable for those whose vibration consciously accepts the law of one. This responsibility is the foundation of the vibration. Each responsibility is an honor, each honor a responsibility. Let's discuss the conditions in the 4th density. A lot of people are kind of resonating in that density right now because we're being of service, and that is the density to be of service. There are no words to describe the fourth density. It can only be explained by what it is and what it isn't. Beyond the fourth density, our abilities grow more limited until we become without words. Telepathy is generally the form of communication. In the fourth dimension, our bodies upgrade from the previous heavy chemical vehicles. There's no disharmony with ourselves and other people. It's not even possible to cause disharmony. It's actually a plane of types. Our bodies are much denser and much more full of life. It's a plane where one is aware of their thoughts. It's a plane of compassion and understanding of the pain caused by the third dimension. It's a plane that strives towards wisdom and light. It's about going from the individual to a group consciousness. Let's discuss the word density and how they like to use it. I just basically kind of interswap density and dimensions. I know they're different concepts, but it can kind of help you to determine which is which. Let's discuss the word density. The term is a mathematical one. The closest compatible analogy would be to music. We have 7 notes on our music scale. The 8th note begins a new octave. Within this great octave of existence we live in, we have 7 octaves or densities. Within each density, there are 7 subdensities. Within each subdensity, there are 7 sub-subdensities. Within each sub-subdensity, there are 7 sub-sub-subdensities, and so on infinitely. Each density has 7 subdensities, which again have 7 subdensities, and so on. This is expanding at a really large rate, as each is increased by powers of 7. This means that in any density or level, anything that you can think of is happening. There are infinite probabilities. Things like daydreams become real in other densities. I'm always telling you guys that my main focus right now is manifesting. I'll get into it more in my next video because I'm going to be covering a lot of what's going on around us when I do my news video, but you know that your thoughts are actually turning into reality. Literally, they might not be happening in this density or dimension, but they're happening somewhere in a parallel universe, every single thought that you've ever had. So things like daydreams become real in other densities. This depends on the nature of the daydream. If the daydream is one that attracts the self, then it becomes reality in itself. Some daydreams enter the infinity of possibility and can occur elsewhere, even if it has no particular attachment to the energy field of the creator. If I were to daydream about building a ship, this would occur in one of those other densities. If an entity daydreams strongly about battling an entity, this would occur. Because another entity is involved, the probability of occurring goes up. The Orion group uses this principle to create conditions favorable to suit their purposes. The Orion group uses daydreams of people with hostile or negative natures to feed and strengthen their thought forms. There are many wanderers who have and are coming to this planet that are subject to the Orion's thoughts right now. This is because wanderers become completely lost, third density entities. So the Orion group can influence any third density entities on this planet. The only difference is that the wanderers have an armor of light around their souls, which allow them to see through things more clearly. Wanderers, as they incarnate here, are high priority targets of the Orion group. If a wanderer is successfully infringed upon by the Orion group, they could get stuck here when it comes to being harvested. They could get lost in the planet's vibration and really had to repeat these cycles. And that's pretty much where we're all at because I like this material because it's about all of us. It's about what's going on right now. And it's really relevant to us getting ready to be harvested. I'm going to see if there's any questions really quick, but I'll be getting off of here and then just doing my regular news feed. If anyone is interested in joining our class, you get lifetime access for a one-time donation of $20 to get into the class. If you want to enter or join it, I'll go ahead and leave the link below. I'm going to see if there's any questions, anything, negative entities, reptiles. We've really been talking about a lot of material kind of spread out in the class. Let's see. Good morning. Good morning, Janine. I'm going to be everyone's feeling heavy. You're going to be feeling a heaviness. I didn't want to get into it on this feed because I'm going to get off of here and really do like a good energy report for you guys. So I definitely feel the energy. I'm going to be getting off of here and I will literally be getting back on a regular news feed, okay?